All right, so let's talk about what's coming next, because 2026 is going to be a turning point. We are heading into a brand new era where tokenization really starts happening at full speed. I'm talking about stocks, bonds, derivatives, real estate, debt, basically every major market you can think of, all moving on chain. And for something like that to work, you need solid layer for 1S layer or 2S, and more importantly, you need systems that can talk to each other. Private systems, public systems, all connected. This is where XRP starts to matter, not as hype, not as speculation, but as neutral bridge asset that can actually move value instantly. In this video, I want to walk you through a few really important ideas. We've got some clips from Black Swan capitalist updates around the Clarity Act, and honestly, some things about XRP that most people still don't really understand. So let's start with something most people miss. Banks and central banks don't use whole XRP tokens. They use drops. That's huge because it means XRP can handle tiny everyday payments and massive global settlements at the exact same time. Think about gold for a second. Once ounce of gold can be tied to thousands and thousands of dollars in derivatives. So that's just that market works. XRP works the same way, just digitally. A single XRP can move millions in settlements value while still being broken down into tiny fractions for normal use. That's the design. And this is why utility matters so much. XRP value isn't coming from hype, headlines, or retail trading cycles. It comes from how fast and how effective value can move through the network. That's velocity. Now, what about adoption? Institutional adoption. That's already happening. We are taking central bank payment providers and entire tokenized markets that are still being built right now. And when you zoom out and look at how much globally liquidity XRP is capable of connecting, it starts to click. This is also where the Clarity Act comes in. Once that's finalized, things really change. So XRP stops being treated like a speculative token and starts being treated like what it actually is, a monetary tool. And monetary tools aren't priced based on emotions, on retail settlement. They're priced based on the size of the economy they support. So here is the big takeaway. XRP can be divided infinitely, which means it works at any price. It has a fixed supply, which means scarcity is built in, and it sits in the middle as a global liquidity bridge. But those together and higher adoption naturally pushes value higher. So that's why when people laugh at numbers like 10,000 or 50,000 per XRP, they're missing the point. Those aren't fantasy numbers. They are mathematical outcomes based on how the system is designed. What we're seeing right now in retail starting to matter less. We are moving into the utility phase. Assets like XRP are playing a totally different game. So then the rest of the market, and honestly, we've never really seen this before, so putting limits on what's possible doesn't make much sense. If liquidity dries up and there's nothing left on exchanges, price has no choice but to follow. Now let's talk about institutions for a second. Whenever a new ETF launches, retail usually shows up first. That's normal, but pretty quickly after that, you can start getting calls from pension funds and insurance companies. And the reason is simple. XRP is easily for them to understand. It's not complicated. It's not experimental. It's real. So that's why Wall Street gets in. That's why macro investors get in. They see that a new financial system is being built and XRP has a role in it. We don't know how big that role will be. Maybe it's 1%, maybe it's 10%, but just being in that system is the difference between an asset that fades away and one that sticks around long term. And here's something that I really like. XRP isn't bridge asset, it's the bridge asset. So when you imagine a future where money moves on blockchains, borders matter less, and retail and institutions use the same infrastructure. And then you work backward XRP just makes sense. That's also why development around the XRP matters so much. Cross-chain systems, RLUs moving across networks, and eventually digital versions of currencies like the pound, euro, yen, all of that strengthens XRP positions right in the middle. So different chains will do different things. Some for retail, some for institutions, some for stocks, futures, or derivatives. So XRP connects them. Institutions don't need to think about XRP as an investment. They need to think about it as infrastructure. It removes pre-funding, it shortens settlement times, it simplifies liquidity, and the XRP ledger itself reinforces this with things like auto-bridging, where XRP automatically steps into to improve liquidity when direct markets don't exist. That's not hype, that's design. Now, add regulation clarity on top of that. Once the rules are clear, institutions can move without hesitation. So risk committees get comfortable, liquidity starts flowing, and adaptation happens quietly before most people even notice. So this is what people mean when they talk about digital arms race. So ETFs were just the first signal. Corporate treasures come next, then governments, and when balance sheet liquidity becomes strategic, XRP becomes strategic. We were starting to see XRP move into DeFi, opening the door to things like decentralized insurance and new financial products without giving up control. So no, this isn't about hype anymore. This is about infrastructure. This is about utility. And this is about financial system being rebuilt in real time. If this helped you see the bigger picture, hit like, drop a comment, and let me know your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one.